Hello, and welcome to a new deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're exploring something really important for many people. The best ways to learn English easily and effectively.
Yes. Learning a new language, it can feel big, can it? Like a really difficult puzzle sometimes.
Definitely.
So finding clear steps, helpful ideas, that makes the whole journey much smoother. More successful, really. We've looked at some interesting sources that offer some very practical insights for you.
That's right. Our goal today is, it's simple but powerful. To look closely at these sources, dig in, and find the most important ideas inside. We want to pull out the key knowledge to, truly help you on your English learning journey.
Yes, exactly. To give you tools that make learning feel less like a struggle and maybe more like a positive adventure.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When you start learning English, many people feel something right away. They have that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Oh, yes, that feeling.
There just seems to be so much to learn, right? Thousands of words, grammar rules, how to pronounce everything. It feels like, too much all at one time.
That feeling of too much. Yeah, it's incredibly common. It's kind of like standing at the bottom of a huge mountain and wondering, how could I ever possibly reach the top?
Exactly that. And one of the sources shares a personal story about this overwhelm. The person, let's call him Alex. He was in his early 20s.
Okay.
And he moved to a new country where the language was completely new to him. Totally unfamiliar.
Wow, that must have been a huge change, a real challenge.
It really was. He'd taken some language classes before, maybe in school.
Like many people do.
But as he found out, and I think many learners find this too, that classroom learning didn't truly stick. Not for real life anyway.
Right. It's different in the real world.
He remembers feeling just completely lost in this new city. Yeah. Simple things like going to the grocery store, trying to read street signs, figuring out the bus or the train. Everything was in a language he didn't understand at all. He felt that same overwhelming feeling many English learners have right when they begin.
That feeling of being disconnected, maybe even lost just because of language.
Yeah.
That's a very real barrier, isn't it?
It is.
It can make the whole learning task feel kind of impossible at first.
Yes, that initial wave of just, whoa, this is too much. But slowly.
Yeah.
Little by little, day by day, Alex started to pick things up.
Okay, so things started changing.
Yes. And here's where the big insight, the sort of aha moment, started to appear from his experience. He realized he wasn't learning effectively by just using endless textbooks trying to cover everything.
Right. That rarely works. So what was the turning point for him? How did he actually start making progress?
The breakthrough, it seems, was focusing on what was practical, what was immediately useful for his real life. Right then.
Relevance.
Exactly. He focused on learning the words and phrases he needed to survive that day or that week.
Like what kind of things?
Words to help him buy food. Words to ask for simple directions. Words to understand basic signs just to find his way around the city.
Okay, that makes sense. What's fascinating here is how this connects to how our brains actually learn most effectively, especially when starting something new, like a language.
How so?
Well, when you focus on information that is immediately relevant and useful for your life, your brain has a strong reason, like a strong hook, to remember it.
Huh?
It's not just abstract words on a page, It's language with real meaning and purpose for you right now.
This personal experience from the source, it really leads us straight into the first big, powerful lesson.
Okay.
The sources highlight that a major mistake learners often make is trying to learn everything all at once.
Guilty as charged, probably, for many of us starting something new.
Right. Trying to memorize huge lists of vocabulary that aren't really relevant yet, trying to understand all the complex grammar rules from day one, trying to sound perfectly fluent immediately.
And, that's not how we learned our first language, is it? We learn step by step, using language for real interactions, real needs, trying to just absorb everything at once. It kind of goes against the brain's natural process for learning language.
Exactly. So the key, as our sources really emphasize, is to focus on what is relevant to you and your needs at your current stage of learning.
Think about it like this, maybe. If your main reason for learning English is, say, to travel to an English-speaking country.
Okay, travel. Good example.
You don't really need to learn advanced business terms or, scientific vocabulary right at the start, do you?
Right. No. Your immediate need is language for the airport, maybe for booking a hotel room.
Ordering food in a restaurant.
Asking simple questions on the street, like where's the station? You focus on that first.
Yeah.
You build a solid base with the language you will actually use, probably daily.
And then once you feel comfortable with those essential interactions, then you can start adding more vocabulary, more grammar.
It's like building your language house, starting with a strong, practical foundation first.
Exactly, a foundation you can actually use right away.
And the sources offer a really concrete, practical example of focusing on relevance.
Yeah.
How to introduce yourself in English.
Yeah, yes. Classic, but so important.
It's a basic skill, sure, but incredibly useful because you'll use it often, right?
Definitely. And it's a perfect place to start building that practical foundation we talked about.
So here's a simple, effective way to do it, kind of following the ideas in the sources. First, you start with a greeting.
Okay.
Something easy like, hi, my name is, and then, you say your name. Seems very basic, maybe too basic. But it's the essential first step to connect with someone.
A clear opening, can't go wrong.
Next, you can share just a little bit of information about yourself. You can say, I'm from, and your country, or perhaps I live in, and your city.
Right, gives a bit of context.
Just tells the other person a little about your background, adds a personal touch. Then add a simple detail about what you do. Keep it very basic. For example, I'm a student, or I work in.
Yeah.
And then maybe say the general area of your job, like I work in technology, or I work in a shop.
Simple. Easy to understand, nothing too complicated.
And finally, and this is important to help the conversation continue, you can end with a question back to the other person.
Keep it going.
Yeah, something simple like, what about you? Or maybe, where are you from?
And there you have it. A simple, practical way to introduce yourself. Using language that's immediately relevant for meeting new people.
Exact.
Mastering these fundamental interactions, these basics, is how you start using English in the real world. And the more complex parts, the harder stuff, that tends to come more naturally later as you practice and as you actually need it.
Okay, so the first powerful lesson is clear. Focus on what is relevant for you right now.
Yeah.
Don't get lost trying to learn everything.
Makes sense.
Now let's move to the second key idea from our sources. Consistency. It's absolutely essential when learning English.
Consistency. Yes. This means learning or practicing a little bit, but very often, regularly, rather than trying to cram, learn a lot only sometimes.
Yes. The sources make it really clear. It is much more effective to practice English every single day, even if it's just for a short time.
Like how short?
Even just 10 or 15 minutes. That's much better than studying for, say, 3 hours, but only once a week or once every 2 weeks.
And the sources actually back this up with research findings, right?
They do. Consistent, short periods of practice, like that 10 or 15 minutes daily, they build knowledge much more effectively than those long, irregular study sessions.
Right. Cramming doesn't really work for long-term learning.
Exactly. There's a specific detail mentioned from a study, apparently.
Yeah.
It said learners who practice for just 15 minutes every day can retain, keep the information up to 30% better.
30%? Wow.
30% better than those who study for longer periods but less often.
That percentage is actually surprisingly high.
Yeah.
It really shows the power of just making learning a regular, small part of your day.
It really does. And the sources give a simple math example to show how these small, consistent steps add up to really big progress over time.
Okay, I like math examples.
Imagine you decide to learn just 5 new English words every day. Only 5 words.
5 words. That sounds very manageable. Not overwhelming at all, like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. It seems small, maybe insignificant, but if you learn 5 words every day,
Yeah.
in 1 month, you will learn 150 new words.
Wow. Okay, from just 5 a day, that's already 150 words in a month. That's quite a lot, actually.
And if you keep doing that consistently for a whole year, learning just 5 words every single day adds up to 1,825 new words in a year.
1,825. That is incredible progress. And it's built entirely from a tiny daily habit. It really highlights how small, consistent actions can lead to really dramatic results over time, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the source also shares a story about a student. Let's call her Riley.
Okay, Riley.
Riley was apparently very motivated, wanted to learn English, but she found consistency very difficult.
A common struggle, I think, for many learners trying to fit studying into a busy life.
Absolutely. Some weeks, Riley would study for many hours, maybe preparing for a test or something.
Right. Intense bursts.
But then other weeks, maybe when there was no test coming up, Riley might not study at all. 0 hours.
Okay, so inconsistent, big peaks and valleys.
Yes. So Riley was encouraged to try a different approach. Simply create a daily routine. Even if it was just 10 minutes a day, the goal was just to show up, do something in English every single day.
Okay, so less pressure, maybe, but more regularity. And
Yeah.
what happened when Riley started doing that?
Well, within just a few months, Riley's progress apparently increased significantly, like noticeably.
Ah,
It felt like things maybe clicked into place much faster for her. And
interesting.
by the end of the year, Riley hadn't only learned over 1,000 new words,
1,000 words is great.
but was also able to have conversations much more easily, felt more confident.
That's a wonderful demonstration of consistency, really working in practice.
Yeah. And the source highlights that Riley's success, it wasn't from finding some, secret magic method or studying for impossible hours.
Right, no magic bullet.
It just came from showing up every day, even for that short time.
And this reflects how consistency helps build habits, right? And it strengthens the connections in your brain. When you revisit information regularly, even briefly, it helps move that knowledge into your long-term memory.
Makes sense.
And that makes it easier to actually use when you need it. It makes the learning, well, it makes it stick.
Oh, so after this deep dive into the sources, what does all of this really mean for you, the listener, on your own English learning path? Let's try to bring the main ideas together.
Yeah, let's summarize. These are practical ideas that can really make a difference in how you learn, I think.
Okay, first, remember that powerful lesson 1. Focus on what is relevant to you right now. Don't try to learn everything at once. Start with the basic, practical things you'll actually use every day. That builds your confidence and your foundation.
And then, lesson 2, equally powerful, I'd say.
Yeah.
Be consistent.
Yes.
Practice every day, even if it's only for 10 or 15 minutes. Remember that example. 5 words a day becomes over 1,800 words in a year. Small, consistent steps really do build big progress.
They really do. And there's a third very important point mentioned in the sources, too. We shouldn't forget this one.
What's that?
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Ah, yes. Crucial. Mistakes are not failures in language learning. Not at all. They're actually a natural and, honestly, a necessary part of the process.
Absolutely. Every mistake you make, it's not a step backward. It's actually a step forward.
How so?
Because it shows you're actually using the language, you're trying, and it shows you where you might need to improve a little. Think of each mistake as just practice. Practice that helps you get better.
Yeah, embracing mistakes, being brave enough to try and speak, even if you know you're not perfect, that actually helps you learn faster because you're actively using the language, not just studying it passively.
So for you who are listening right now, remember that learning English, it's a journey. It's definitely not a race.
Good point.
It takes time, it takes patience, and yes, it takes practice. But with the right approach, focusing on what's useful for you now and practicing consistently, even for short times every day, it can truly be enjoyable and incredibly rewarding in the end.
Yes, trust in the power of those small, regular actions. They really do build into something significant over time.
Okay, so here is a final thought maybe for you to consider as you continue on your journey. Since learning is indeed a journey, right? And mistakes are just part of finding your way. Perhaps the most important thing isn't really rushing to reach some kind of perfect destination like fluent. Instead, maybe focus on celebrating all the small wins, all the moments of progress you have along the way.
What kind of moments?
Well, every new word you successfully use in a conversation, every time you understand a bit more of a song or a movie, every sentence you manage to build yourself, these are all meaningful steps forward. And they're worth acknowledging, worth celebrating,
Definitely. Celebrating those small successes keeps you motivated, and it helps you see just how far you've already come on that journey.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.